No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. It's your boy, the Joker, the Overlook MC, back and for the fact. Here to have this is a special, pop up show with the Joker. I'm on every morning on 514 Online Mix Radio. You know what I mean? Doing what we do every morning. Give y'all the marketing tips, playing the hot old school music and all that, and also playing the indie artists on Fridays and any requests we play indie artists throughout the week. This is just the podcast side edition on IBP Media Group on YouTube. And make sure you're on YouTube and follow right now. We also on Facebook and we on the Twitter page right now also. So we got a special guest in the building, man. He's a good friend of mine, the big boss of the IBP Media Group, man. He's a definitely an author. You know what I mean? He is a lyrical MC of all styles, African historian, hip hop historian, a fashion designer, filmer, film producer, film writer, a motivational speaker, and then also a master teacher and a God fearing king. I'm gonna get y'all introduce yourself right now to my boy, my people, Emmanuel Kulu. What's going on with you, family?
Man, I'm good, brother, man. It's good to be here with you, man. You know how we do it.
Yeah, we go.
IBP.
Yeah, we go way back. We go way
Yeah.
back like flat tires.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, doing what we do all day, every day, man. I appreciate you having time on your busy schedule to definitely come on the joy. Shout out to my man DJ Larry Loud in the building. You know,
What's
right there.
going on, Loud? What's going on?
Yeah, man, doing this thing. Appreciate you tuning in, no doubt. And appreciate everybody else tuning in and subscribing to the channel, man. The channel been doing real good. A shout out to the Evening Rush Network, who's also showing us love too on their platforms and 514onlinemix.com. Yeah, man. It's been a long time coming, man. We work in the same network, but we ain't knowing at the same time. We
Hmm.
check on each other here and there. You stay busy. What you got
Yeah.
going on right now on your busy schedule? We'll get into that first before we get into the personal stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I just did a TEDx talk last week on ancient African history and how we need to have African history taught in our schools. Point blank,
Okay.
period.
Okay.
We can no longer just have this Eurocentric version of history being taught. We need to teach the whole scope.
Right.
So that was what my TEDx talk was about. I got 3 books I'm working on right now. So yeah, man, just staying busy, staying focused. I got a possible film coming up soon. One of
Nice.
my agent is pitching some things to um to a couple film producers to see who bite.
Okay.
So those are the things I got going on currently at the moment. And also I'm building my other company, which is Ancient African Antiquities Research Institute of America,
Mm-hmm.
with Sister Shay. So yeah, man, we building, man. We stay working and we stay building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I stay working on y'all end, man. I be tapping in once again because I do so much prep work on my end with the podcast and with the radio station. And busy with that, but I always try to tap in when you got something coming in. And I try to see if I can get a little glimpse of it, before I move on or before I move, with how I be moving. You know what I'm saying? But you definitely got things going on, man. And before we get into anything, man, don't forget in the description I have the Amazon link right now to get his book. I got the I got both of them, but this is
Mm-hmm.
one of them, the Golden Era.
Yep, yep,
You
that's
know,
it.
the book right here. Make sure y'all get that book. The Amazon link is in the description. Order your book right now for the holidays. Give it to a gift for somebody and everything. Let's talk a little bit about this joint. The first one and the Golden Age one.
Hmm.
Give us a little something on that one. Let people know about this nice I Black Pharaoh book that you've been writing on for a couple years now.
Yeah, man. I Black Pharaoh, the first edition was to show the beauty of the ancient black people in Egypt, and how they were the rulers of these civilizations. But this is a historical fiction that talks about the life of Tutmosis III and Hatshepsut. And I
Hmm.
really felt that we needed a powerful story to be told about Africa.
Hmm.
We have the Wakanda story, but that's a fiction story.
Hmm.
This is actually a story of people who really existed in their time in the greatest kingdom of African history, which was ancient Egypt at its height.
Hmm.
So I wanted to tell that story again from an African perspective. I wanted to have a striking narrative with the book cover.
Right. Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
the gold one. I wanted people to start seeing themselves in gold. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? It's the
Mm-hmm.
reason why Black people still to this day we wear a lot of gold. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's part of our history.
That's right.
So those things I wanted to bring back to the forefront.
Yeah, because everything was in detail in the book that I've read, man. To the fabric, to the
Mhm.
design, to the smell, to the you went in detail on the area they was in.
Mhm.
How was the king's room, and how where was that when they got into a war, and got you got
Mhm.
in detail on everything. What made you get into detail like that? Because it was very in depth, and it's really make it seem like I was when I read the book. It seemed like I was there and I could
Right.
smell the fragrance. I could smell the food. I could smell the women. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and that's important in stories, right? Like if you're gonna tell a story, you want people to feel like they're there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Mm-hmm.
you got to describe what they seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And keep it. And you know this, just like I know this.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this book with the intention of it being a movie eventually, right?
Yeah, right.
So I wanted to make it so film directors could kind of see it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm describing the palace and how the throne looked, or I'm describing the sand blowing, or I'm describing the tropical nature of the Nile Valley and the solstice and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
people can literally see it,
Right, right,
especially for people who's been there. And even if you haven't been there, you still can imagine it. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So I wanted to be real descriptive on that part, man, to give people that feel like they're there. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is me. I see myself in it.
Yeah.
So make it more personal for people.
Yeah, it's definitely a personal piece, man. And when I read it, it seemed like it could be a movie too, 'cause especially on the real in depth scenes and the scenes of the emotions of how that
Mhm,
character felt at that time, or what happened when the king felt some type of way when somebody came into the building, and
mhm.
it was just so much things in there, man. You did an excellent job on it. Y'all go ahead and get this book, man, right now, man. It's in the description right now. Right now is and also it's also a link in there too of one of his things he got going on IBP Media Group or one of his shows. Y'all can click on that too, so y'all can get an idea of what he's talking about when it comes to the black historian and everything. We're gonna go in some history. Can we take
Yeah.
it back? Can we take it back a little bit?
Yeah, 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 man. Why not?
Yeah, let's go back throwback. Let's go back with the throwback jersey real
Mhm.
quick and pull it off the wall for a minute. When you was
Nah,
an MC, what made you get into
yeah.
the hip hop, and what made you get to hip hop in the lyric? Because you were lyricism and you definitely as versatile in all styles. Well, that's amazed me when I was with you and managing you and everything. That
Yeah.
made me really want to work with you because I never really heard an artist that could really hit every you had the genre, but then you got the
Mhm.
styles, and
Right.
you mastered every style from down
Mhm.
south to west coast to crunk to boom bap to south music to Caribbean, Jamaican. I mean,
Right.
you did it all. What made you get into that, and what was the craft about? What got you to get detailed and know them and study those styles?
Well, when I first started even thinking about hip hop, like I grew up just listening to it. I grew up like everybody else, loving Rakim, LL Cool J, Ice Cube, NWA,
Hmm.
all these pioneers, Tupac in the early '90s,
Hmm.
Biggie,
Hmm.
Nas, Wu Tang.
Hmm.
These was my favorite. But I really, really like the first superstar I really liked was
Hmm.
LL. You know what I
Right.
mean? I liked
Yeah.
his finesse with the ladies. I liked his versatility. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Right.
And that's kind of like the artist that I when I became an artist in 99,
Hmm.
98 actually. When I became an artist in 98, I
Hmm.
wanted to pattern myself off of a versatile artist. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
An artist that just didn't speak to one audience.
Mm-hmm.
LL did that.
Hmm.
Nas did that.
Right.
Pac did that.
Hmm.
Jay did that. Big did that. So
Hmm.
these DMX did that. These is guys that I was studying,
Hmm. Right.
and once I could define my own style,
Hmm.
there was already a blueprint that those guys had laid of being
Right.
versatile.
Right.
So I learned a lot from those guys, and then the emergence of the South in the 2000s.
Hmm.
You had the emergence of the West Coast in the 90s, and then
Right.
you had the emergence of the South in the 2000s, and people had to adjust. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
while that was hard for some people, I had mastered styles
Mm.
from all over because I traveled to those places, just like you.
Jay.
We was traveling to those places, shaking and moving. And when you go down south, you go to Atlanta in the early 90s, you got to have some strip club music
Mm-hmm.
because the strip clubs is what really blew artists up at that time.
Right.
Okay. So coming up in that era where I was really taking the music seriously, like guys like Jeezy and Master P and guys like Rick Ross, Gucci
Mm-hmm.
Mane, them dudes was all out and
Mm-hmm.
they was killing the club scene. So
Right.
we
Right.
had to compete with that when we were in Atlanta, and Atlanta had kind of took the reins for hip hop.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
had to adjust. So, and it made me a well-rounded hip hop artist, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I appreciated all music. Here in Buffalo, a lot of people don't know this,
Mm-hmm.
but most people who live in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
even though Buffalo is in New York State,
Right.
most black folks in Buffalo
Mm-hmm.
originate in the South.
That's right. That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? My grandmother my my mother's side is my African American side.
Mm-hmm.
She was born in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was born in Mississippi. My mother moved to Chicago when
Mm-hmm.
she was about 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually she migrated up here to Buffalo. So, and that's like a lot of people. You ask anybody in Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
most of their origins come from
Yeah, down
down
south.
south.
That's right.
So we got that southern home cooking in us, and even so,
Mm-hmm.
when we collide sometimes with New Yorkers,
Mm-hmm.
that's usually the things they say. They say, "You're not a New Yorker. You from the South. You sound like you South from
Yeah,
the South." You know what I'm
that's right.
saying?
That's right.
So, but we are the west side of New York, so to speak. So
Yeah, Western New York. Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. So that means got into the hip hop game in '98. So that means all the way through the early '90s. That was your teaching, learning
Hmm.
the different styles of music, and learning the history of it, and really get into it. What was the transition to that? That's
Hmm.
interesting. What was the transition to that? You learning like the game and how
Hmm.
LL and the Run DMCs and the Coogee raps. What was your strategy? What was the transition of you learning them things?
Well, when I was growing up, for the most part, the West Coast was running the game. Snoop Dogg was the biggest artist from, I mean, you think about it, NWA 1988, right?
Mm-hmm.
NWA comes out,
Mm-hmm.
that gives birth to the Chronic,
Mm-hmm.
which gives birth to Snoop Dogg, who
Mm-hmm.
pretty much was the top dog up until about
Mm-hmm.
94, 95.
Yeah.
Then Biggie jumped in there, 94, 95,
Mm-hmm.
kind of brought it back to the East for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Then Pac go out to the West Coast and he take things back to the West. Then Pac and Big die, and then they start going back to the East with
Mm-hmm.
Jay and
Mm-hmm.
X and Nas and Redman and Method Man, and you
Right.
know what I'm saying.
Right.
Then that happened. Then it goes in the 2000s. Your 50 come out, and then it just goes south from there
Right. Yeah. Right.
to the
Right.
south.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
all of that is a learning experience. All of
Mhm.
that is like
Learning the history, learning the
learning the
patterns of.
his yeah,
Yeah.
learning the different rhyme schemes, learning
Mhm.
the different beats, learning the different things.
That's right.
That was all a teaching thing for me. But also we had to, as artists, you got to adjust if you want to stay
Right.
relevant.
Right.
So
Right.
that's one of the things that I learned. I
Hmm.
learned that from Jay, particularly.
Yeah.
Jay is the most versatile artist in the he adjusts.
He
And
did.
this is something that he has done probably better than any other artist in
Yeah.
hip hop history.
That's right.
He kept adjusting to the times.
Hmm.
If Eminem is the hottest thing out, I'm gonna put Eminem on my record.
Hmm.
If DMX is the hottest thing out, you get Money Cash Holes.
Hmm.
If Bum B and
Pimp C. Yeah.
Pimp C is running
Yeah.
things, I'm gonna get them on my record.
Yeah.
Rick Ross running things, I'm gonna get him on my record. That's just what Jay know how to stay relevant.
Yeah.
You collab with R. Kelly when R. Kelly was on top of the world. You
Yeah.
collab with Mary J. You
Yeah.
collab with.
That's
He
right.
just made sure he put himself in different markets.
Hmm.
I'm putting myself in top dog
So
markets.
that's how you learned all the styles too, from following what Jay was
Right.
doing, and you
Hmm.
was mastering the styles of each artist that he had pretty much collab with, because you
Hmm.
already was educated on what was going on far as the market of what hip hop was doing on the mainstream level. The underground level was kind of flaky because it was
Hmm.
different unless you was in that underground heavy. I was in that underground heavy, so
Right.
I understood like I understood the mainstream too, but that underground grabbed my attention more in the '90s because it was like what it was underground. Like nobody didn't hear about these cats, and these cats are just as good as the people in the mainstream. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
like in the underground, like you mentioned the underground, like in the underground was battling, right?
Yeah,
We and I think that's a part of hip hop that got lost over time.
yeah,
But they try to bring it back with the verses, but it's not
yeah.
the same. I mean, when you was coming up as an MC and you said I'm a rapper,
Hmm.
as soon as you said that, somebody tried to challenge you.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And you
right.
went through those growing pains of
Hmm.
losing battles, winning
Hmm.
battles, the thrills of winning, the
Hmm.
the ills of losing,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Knowing the art form of it.
and it grew you up a little bit.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
Those scars, once they heal, they
Hmm.
become like a shield or
Yep.
protection. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So I'm cut from that cloth too.
Yeah.
But as time went on, I started more focusing on the music, making good music that people want to hear and feel and dance to and move to and
Hmm.
vibe to. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that the underground was closed from the mainstream in a way to where they didn't put that together like in the early '90s? Did you feel that vibe?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the underground was always like music that was free of the what they call commercial. Was
Mm.
free of the commercial, so
Mhm.
this is more free thought. This was more deep.
Speak
This
your
is more
mind.
speak your
Hmm.
mind, reality.
Hmm.
When people in a time like right now, you know, you got more people struggling than you got balling.
Yeah.
But right now, do the industry want to commercialize people struggling? No, they
No,
don't.
no, they
They
don't.
want to commercialize people balling.
Yeah.
So they will completely blacklist the artist that's talking about the struggle, particularly because that's not what they believe people want to
Mhm.
hear.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they push that agenda. So I definitely think in the 90s, you heard more of that. You
Right.
heard more of the struggle music. You heard the keep your head ups. You heard the, public enemy, fight the power. You heard them songs.
That's
But
right.
even them songs in them days, bruh, them songs had a tune to it.
They
Them
did.
you know what I mean? They had a tune to it to
For the
where it's still
club,
right,
roller skating,
right.
for picnic parties, with your
There it
family,
is.
family reunions. Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
it still had a, what I'm saying, even Dear Mama, like you could still play Dear Mama on
Today.
Mother's Day or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Whenever you want to give a gift to mama, you still playing that track. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
These music had a purpose in those
Yeah,
days. And that was, to me, that was the golden era of hip hop was the
yeah,
90s.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, because I was attached to that underground level on that level, but I was studying a
Hmm.
lot on the mainstream as far as the business side. Like in the early, like when I graduated around '93, that's when I really got into. Because I remember one guy to talk to me. I forgot the brother's name. He had dreads. He went to UB, and he was testing me like, do you know what publishing is? Do you know what this is? Do you know what distribution is? Do you need, you know what I mean? And he was like,
Hmm.
and I was like, no, I like to learn that. So he took me to the library right downtown in Buffalo, of the big one, and he took me on the third floor. And I remember going to the desk, and he was like, "You had to get the book from the desk, but you couldn't take it out from the library. You had to show your
Hmm.
ID, give him your ID, get the book, and you get your ID back when you get the book." He gave me the book of the guide of the music business. It was a whole guide information. It had publishing there, distribution companies, record labels in there. They had different articles in there of how to start your own label, what you got to do. Down from the LLCs to the patent to the copyrights. Everything was in that one book. He
Hmm.
told me that book come out every year. When the year dropped, it's another book coming out within the next couple of weeks of January. So ever since then,
Hmm.
every time the year drop, I wait about a week and I go right to the library. You got that new one out? You got the new 1994 music guide? And they were like, yeah, it just came today. And one time
Music industry constantly changing.
right, right. And he gave me that book one year. It was still the plastic. I was the first one to break it open. So that was cool. So I was studied that book, but then it was other books that was more in detail of what was going on. Far as you got a book just on publishing,
Right.
it broke everything down what publishing was. Now the digital game is here now. Now everything is chopped in half.
Whole nother wave.
Yeah, it's a whole nother situation. So the knowledge that I have reading those books and how it is now, it's easier for me to understand it than people that don't. Didn't study back then. They still having issues. And that's why I was good. I was blessed that I talked to this brother and I was ahead of the game before this transition came. So that helped me out a lot. Now, did you ever go to the library and read any of these books?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. As I started having talks with labels and trying to find a label deal at that time, because that was the thing to do back then.
Mm-hmm.
You had to read up on those books, man. You
Mm-hmm.
had to read up, get your knowledge up on DBAs, LLCs, patents.
Mm-hmm.
At the time when I started Teflon ENT, there was another record label out in Jersey that had the same name, Teflon ENT,
Mm-hmm.
just spelled different. Mine was TEPHLON.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs was TEFLON.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like a conflict. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they had a DBA. I had an LLC. So my LLC kind of like trumped their DBA at the time.
Okay.
DBA, for those who's listening, just means doing business as. So if I form a DBA
Mm-hmm.
for, let's say, Teflon ENT, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really just saying Emmanuel Kulu is doing business as Teflon ENT. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically what it is. It's just,
Right.
it's you, but it's you doing business as this name.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's what people don't know. What a LLC is, limited liability corporation. I'm giving y'all free knowledge right here.
Yeah.
Limited liability corporation. You separate yourself. If somebody wants to sue Teflon ENT, they're suing the company. They're not suing Emmanuel Kulu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's different. A DBA, if they're suing you, if they're suing the DBA, they're suing you.
Right.
LLC, they're suing the company. Big
Right.
difference.
That big difference.
So that's things that people need to understand about the industry too,
Yeah.
if they're trying to break into it.
That's facts. Well, okay, let's get right to the Teflon, man. What was the passion you forming Teflon, and let me know the trials and tribulations of you building that team that
Yeah.
you had that was very solid too.
There was a team, we was all friends. We was all friends. And, for me, I realized that, you know, if you really going to try to make a push in this music industry, you can't it just can't be you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So as I was coming up and doing my battling and getting respect from people, I started meeting people along the way. Say, hey, I want to come to the studio. I met people in college at the time, and they was like, yo, you got a studio? Yo. So I was one of the first cats in the early 2000s that had a studio. I mean, the studio wasn't the greatest quality
Right.
yet,
Right.
but I had one. I had invested in, a microphone, invested in the sonar program at the time. I had the computer. I had the means to do it. I put the booth right in the closet. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right.
The
Right.
booth was right off my room, right in the closet, So I would have people start coming through. We started making a lot of tracks. First it was just all fun and games,
Yeah. Right.
we
Right.
having a good time. So we started, actually I had an opportunity to start performing them at this place called Script Pro.
Okay.
So we started, and that was what is Broadway Joe's.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Right.
we started performing over there. And, once we started hearing them cheers, bro, it was on.
Yeah.
Once we
Yeah.
started hearing them cheers, it was like, yo, man, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. People was feeling our music, and we just got more serious about it. And from then on, I just started recording other people, recording myself.
Right.
And then once we had, I had an album that was done. I put that out, started getting my name out there, started selling it hand to hand while I was in college. People who knew me from playing ball, I was like, yo, I spit too. Yo, I got an album out, whoopty whoopty whoop. Man, and this is humble beginnings, Joker. So you talk
Right. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
going to Kinko's,
Yeah.
printing up, cutting out your album cover, putting it in the
Yeah,
slide
man. I remember those.
with the burnt CD and all of
Yep.
that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, you see somebody that's known. You tell them, yo, here, you give it to them for free. Bump that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. 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 Right.
Dumb humble beginning days. So I was doing that, and as I was doing that, other people I saw doing the same thing, and then we started talking like, let's move together. You
Right.
doing
Right.
that? I mean, we working dolo. It's kind of like we working over each other. We trying to
Right.
out
Right.
hustle
Right.
each other. let's come together on some stuff. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So I started collabing with cats, started making tracks in the studio, and basically once we came up with an album together, that's kind of how it all formed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
and like anything else, man, we put it together, started moving, started traveling,
Mm-hmm.
started doing shows outside the city, and man, the rest is history, man. We became a label, and
Mm-hmm.
once we became a label, and I was the owner of the label, I decided to help organize the team.
Right.
So just like we did when we was in Grind City,
Right.
I was making sure that we was having meetings every single week. Every week, every Sunday, we would meet at my house. Cats would pick out their beats that they gonna do. We would talk about the next event we was gonna do, whether it be a party or
Mm-hmm.
skating party or whatever it
Right.
may
Right.
be. Ways that we needed to make money, selling T-shirts, whatever we needed to
Mm.
do to keep
Right.
this wave going.
Right.
Traveling to this country, traveling to this city, traveling to
Right.
that city. These
Right.
was the plans that we was making every single week.
Right. Right.
And for a while, it was like it was on and popping.
Good.
Everybody was
Good.
excited for them new
Right.
opportunities,
What was the
So
battle on talking to people out of state to book these shows? What you had to do? What was your strategy of making that happen?
you got to prove your worth. Remember what you talked about
Yeah.
when you talk about you can't just go to somebody out to go to Atlanta. Let's say Atlanta, right? Because at
Mm-hmm.
that time we was making a lot of trips there. So you can't just go to Atlanta and say, "Yo, we the hottest thing in New York." You got to
Right.
show something.
That's
You
right.
got to show if you ain't in the source, if you ain't in this, people ain't believing that. So we had
Mm-hmm.
to go out there and compete. So
Mm-hmm.
when we went out there, we saw it was a whole new wave. This was when Pastor Troy was running Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
This is when, Lil Jon was first coming up. I actually heard Little John's music in
Mm-hmm.
the 90s. I heard it in the 90s from
Mm-hmm.
traveling to Atlanta.
Right.
Okay. And we didn't start hearing it on the radio till like 2003.
Right.
Like I heard B.I.B.I. in 1999. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
People didn't start hearing it till like up here. They didn't start hearing it till like 2003, 2004.
That's a fact. That's a
You know what I'm
fact.
saying? So
Yeah.
we was
Yeah.
like back in time. So when we went down there, we was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's a whole nother wave
Yeah,
out.
that was a whole nother culture of hip hop right there because that was around the time I was traveling too, and I actually seen Lil Jon DJ at the club called Silver Fox, and
Mhm.
he wasn't even called Lil Jon then, he was just DJ John,
Mhm.
and he had little dreads, shades, his dreads weren't long yet, but he still had the same persona, the same style with the yeah and all that. He still had that going on, but
Mhm.
the club looked good. It was a hole in the wall club. It was in the hood, like in the border of the border of Georgia and South Carolina. So
Mhm.
it was like that you had to hit through Route what was that? What was that? Route 29. So it was
Mhm.
like you had to go through a couple counties before you hit 29 to go to Atlanta because Atlanta was like I think 35 minutes away on that part of
Right.
the town. So he was at that Silver Fox, and that Silver Fox was connected to a lot of colleges.
Right.
So he was involved with a lot of college, DJing a lot of colleges from Georgia Tech,
Morehouse. Morehouse.
Morehouse, yeah,
Yep. That's where I
all,
first saw him at Morehouse University.
yeah. I think he was going there. Matter of fact, I think he went to that college.
But I
Matter of
know
fact,
I know that's another market that they was attacking. Like the
yes,
South Hustle taught me so much about the game.
yeah, they did.
The
I
South
learned a lot.
Hustle, Imma tell people, man, if you don't know about the South Hustle, it taught me so much about the industry because you
What?
you know you know like we know it.
Yep.
We was just trying to get on the radio over here in New York. We was trying to get on the radio. We felt if
Mm-hmm.
we got on the radio, that was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Out there, if your hustle, it's not even about the music, particularly at that time.
Right.
You got a good song and you got a hustle on you, you gonna pop.
Yeah, right.
Pop.
Especially going out there when it's popping like the Freakniks, the birthday bashes and stuff like that. People
Mhm.
just go out there just to network.
Right.
Even
That's
though
why we went out there.
yeah, even though you ain't performing, they was going out there and network and give out flyers and talk to people, give away posters, give away some free T-shirts, you know what I mean, promos and stuff like that. So what I'm saying the game was very different then. During that grind, how was it to bring the team together to do that? Was it pulling teeth, or was they down, or was it, was it like, okay, this person gonna go, this person don't want to go, okay, you gonna miss out, okay, you want to go, okay, was it like that? How was it?
A whole lot of that. A whole lot of that. Like me and my brother, we was the head of the snake, and we had my boy Not Rated too. He was a part of the team, and we had a sister named Mercedes as well, and my cousin Brad. It was so many of us, we were like 50 of us, but at the head, that was like the head.
Yeah.
We found ourselves being the main people who went every time.
Yeah.
And there was others that, our entourage that just couldn't go for whatever circumstance. And, it was what it was, but that's what we had dues for. You know what I mean? Dues was for to take the show on the road, because you trying to stay in Buffalo at the time was just not cutting it. Everybody in Buffalo was kind of fighting for a position at that time. So we knew that we needed to outsource. So the people who couldn't go, man, they missed those opportunities. The people who could go, they went.
Right.
We still did what it did. You know what I mean? We still
Right.
represented. We still got our name out there. We still, what I really learned out there was, and this is not my lifestyle right now, but in those days,
the
strip clubs was the place where people got their music out there.
That's right.
In
The
the South.
DJs,
I'm
the
saying
girls
Magic
dance.
City.
Yep.
Yep.
Blue Flames.
If your song didn't hit in Magic City, in Atlanta, and you was an artist from Atlanta, I'm sorry, you just wasn't probably gonna make it.
No, you would have been an underground rapper all your life. You would have made it to that next level.
But one thing I learned, bro. So I went out there one night. I went to Magic City, and this guy, he was giving, I think it was P Brown's show, if I'm not. Shout out to P Brown, by the way.
No doubt.
He came in there like 5 boxes. He made sure everybody had a t-shirt, nice crispy black tee. That was around that time black tea was out. And he was just giving them out for free. We put the shirt on. I forgot what the shirt said, whatever it said. And at the end of the night, that same dude and his crew performed. Wow. And they had the same shirt that he gave all of us. You see what I'm saying?
That was a good marketing strategy.
Smart marketing strategy. So he got half the audience out there with his t-shirt, not knowing that he's a rap artist.
Right.
And all of us was just like, because he gave us a shirt, we was rocking with him.
Right.
Man, I took that same strategy back to New York, man.
Yeah.
I took that same strategy.
Yeah, they get the shirts and stuff. We're gonna get a quick commercial break. Then we're gonna come back and talk about the fashion side of things with the clothing line. So y'all just stay right there. We be right back in 1 minute.
Sweet well, smoking the air with no get back. Mad working Avery Park in my backpack. Po, driving through, now that's a fearsome. Pager go off, get off to have a threesome. The booty like a fruit basket to bust a cherry. New fight, 6 to choose up in the Perry. 3 up work real quick on each
fire.
To choose up in the Perry. 3 up work real quick on each ferry. The block was my girl indeed to get married. So scary. One man dude to grind alone. South Park getting dark in front of car bones. No cell phone. Backseat sweet getting mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. That joint right there is hot right there. That's
fire, bro. You hear me, bro? You froze right now, bro.